Chapter 20 of God's Country and the Woman. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. God's Country and the Woman by James Oliver Curwood. Chapter 20. In the course of nearly every human life there comes an hour which stands out above all others as long as memory lasts. Such was the one in which Philip crouched in the dog-pit, his hand at Captain's collar, waiting for the sound of cry or shot. So long as he lived he knew this scene could not be wiped out of his brain. As he listened, he stared about him, and the drama of it burning into his soul. Some intuitive spirit seemed to have whispered to the dogs that these tense moments were heavy with tragic possibilities for them as well as the man. Out of the surrounding darkness they stared at him, without a movement or a sound, every head turned toward him, 40 pairs of eyes upon him like green and opal fires. They, too, were waiting and listening. They knew there was some meaning in the attitude of this man crouching at Captain's side. Their heads were up, their ears were alert. Philip could hear them breathing, and he could feel that the muscles of Captain's splendid body were tense and rigid. Minutes passed. The owl hooted nearer. The wolf howled again further away. Slowly the tremendous strain passed and Philip began to breathe easier. He figured that Josephine and the half-breed had reached last night's meeting place. He had given them a margin of at least 5 minutes, and nothing had happened. His knees were cramped, and he rose to his feet, still holding Captain's chain. The tension was broken among the beasts. They moved. Whimpering sounds came to him. Eyes shifted uneasily in the gloom. Fully half an hour passed when there was a sudden movement among them. The points of green and opal fire were turned from Philip, and to his ears came the clink of chains, the movement of bodies, a subdued and menacing rumble from a score of throats. Captain growled. Philip stared into the darkness and listened. And then a voice came quite near. "Ho, M'sieur Philip!" It was Jean. Philip's hand relaxed its clutch at Captain's collar, and almost a groan of relief fell from his lips. Not until Jean's voice came to him, quiet and unexcited, did he realize under what a strain he had been. "I am here," he said, moving slowly out of the pit. On the edge of it, where the light shone down through an opening in the spruce tops, he found Jean. Josephine was not with him. Eagerly Philip caught the other's arm and looked beyond him. "Where is she?" "Safe," replied Jean. "I left her at Adare House and came to you. I came quickly, for I was afraid that some one might shout in the night, or fire a shot. Our business was done quickly tonight, M'sieur." He was looking straight into Philip's eyes, a cold, steady look that told Philip what he meant before he had spoken the words. "Our business was done quickly," he repeated, "and it is coming." "The fight?" "Yes." "And Josephine knows? She understands?" "No, M'sieur. Only you and I know. Listen. Tonight I kneeled down in the darkness in my room and prayed that the soul of my Iowaka might come to me. I felt her near, M'sieur. It is strange. You may not believe, but some day you may understand. And we were there together for an hour, and I pleaded for her forgiveness, for the time had come when I must break my oath to save our Josephine. And I could hear her speak to me, M'sieur, as plainly as you hear that breath of wind in the tree tops yonder. Praise the Holy Father, I heard her. And so we are going to fight the great fight, M'sieur." Philip waited. After a moment Jean said, as quietly as if he were asking the time of day: "Do you know whom we went out to see last night, and met again tonight?" he asked. "I have guessed," replied Philip. His face was white and hard. Jean nodded. "I think you have guessed correctly, M'sieur. It was the baby's father." And then in amazement he stared at Philip, for the other had flung off his arm, and his eyes were blazing in the starlight. "And you have had all this trouble, all this mystery, all this fear, because of him?" he demanded. His voice rang out in a harsh laugh. "You met him last night and again tonight, and let him go, you, Jean Croisset, the one man in the world I would give my life to meet, and you afraid of him? My God, if that is all " Jean interrupted him, laying a firm, quiet hand on his arm. What would you do, M'sieur?" "Kill him," breathed Philip. "Kill him by inches, slowly, torturingly. And tonight, Jean, he is near. I will follow him and do what you have been afraid to do." "Yes, that is it. I have been afraid to kill him," replied Jean. Philip saw the starlight on the half breed's face, and he knew as he looked that he had called Jean Jacques Croisset the one thing in the world that he could not be, a coward. "I am wrong," he apologized quickly. "Jean, it is not that. I am excited, and I take back my words. It is not fear. It is something else. Why have you not killed him?" "M'sieur, do you believe in an oath that you made to your God?" "Yes, but not when it means the crushing of human souls. Then it is a crime." "Ah!" Jean was facing him now, his eyes aflame. "I am a Catholic, M'sieur, one of those of the far north who are different from the Catholics of the south, of Montreal and Quebec. Listen. To night I have broken a part of my oath. I am breaking a part of it in telling you what I am about to say. But I am not a coward, unless it is a coward who lives too much in fear of the great God. What is my soul compared to that in the gentle breast of our Josephine? I would sacrifice it to night, give it to Wetiku, lend it forever to hell if I could undo what has been done. And you ask me why I have not killed, why I have not taken the life of a beast who is unfit to breathe God's air for an hour. Does it not occur to you, M'sieur, that there must be a reason?" "Besides the oath, yes." "And now I will tell you of the game I played and lost, M'sieur. In me alone Josephine knew that she could trust, and so it was to me that she bared her sorrow. Later word came to me that this man, the father of the baby, was following her into the north. That was after I had given my oath to Josephine. I thought he would come by the other waterway, where we met you, and so we went there alone. I made a camp for her, and went on to meet him. My mind was made up, M'sieur. I had determined upon the sacrifice, my soul for hers. I was going to kill him. But I made a mistake. A friend I had sent around by the other waterway met me, and told me that I had missed my game. Then I returned to the camp, and you were there. You understand this far, M'sieur?" "Yes. Go on." "The friend I had sent brought a letter for Josephine," resumed Jean. "A runner on his way north gave it to him. It was from Le M'sieur Adare, and said they were not starting north. But they did start, soon after the letter. And this same friend brought me the news that the master had passed along the westward waterway a few days behind the man I had planned to kill. Then we returned to Adare House, and you came with us. And after that, the face at the window and the shot." Philip felt the half breed's arm quiver. "I must tell you about him or you will not understand," he went on, and there was an effort in his voice now. "The man whose face you saw was my brother. Ah, you start. You understand now why I was glad you failed to kill him. He was bad, all that could be bad, M'sieur. But blood is thicker than water, and up here one does not forget those early days when childhood knows no sin. And my brother came up from the south as canoe man for the man I wanted to kill. A few hours before you saw his face at the window I met him in the forest. He promised to leave. Then came the shot, and I understood. The man I was going to kill had sent him to assassinate the master of Adare. That is why I followed his trail that night. I knew that I would find the man I wanted not far away." "And you found him?" "Yes. I came upon my brother first, and I lied. I told him he had made a mistake and killed you, that his life was not worth the quill from a porcupine's back if he remained in the country. I made him believe it was another who fought him in the forest. He fled. I am glad of that. He will never come back. Then I followed over the trail he had made to Adare House, and far back in the swamp I came upon them, waiting for him. I passed myself off as my brother, and I tricked the man I was after. We went a distance from the camp, alone, and I was choking the life from him when the two others that were with him came upon us. He was dying, M'sieur. He was black in the face, and his tongue was out. Another second, two or three at the most, and I would have brought ruin upon every soul at Adare House. For he was dying, and if I had killed him all would have been lost." "That is impossible," gasped Philip, as the half breed paused. "If you had killed him all would have been lost.